Mm-hmm.
Everything's clear?
A little bit, yeah.
We
It's
getting
okay.
feedback?
Let me.
Okay, that sounds much better. Hey.
Yeah.
Yes, I am your host, James Boyd. We're live right now on Facebook, everybody. So wave to your people. We're going to put this out there and we're going to do a really good show tonight because that particular song that I chose for Andrea Day and Billie Holiday is just an amazing story about that particular song because she was arrested and put in prison for that song. And they tried to stop her from singing that song. And it became a big issue. And also, Billie Holiday was arrested for using heroin and some other crazy things. And basically, she was arrested for being black and making a difference, which is what we try to do here on Recovery Radio. We try to help those get informed that are not informed. And so my topic tonight is Made in America. And I chose that topic because here on Recovery Radio, we go into the lives of people who have a story to tell. And tonight we have special guest, Al Wahid, and he's going to talk to us about when he got shot in his community where he grew up, and he became the victim of gun violence. And so we're going to open up that topic. We have Rendell. She's joining us, and she has a story to share at some point about her experience with gun violence and her family. Al Wahid, how'd you like that song, man?
It was a great song. I like it.
Yeah.
I like
Okay,
it.
yeah. Let me say this. Al Wahid is my son, and I've been wanting to get with him and talk about this issue for a while because it is the beginning of a healing process. So just keep that in mind. So, Al Wahid, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Good evening.
Good evening. Nobody's going to say anything back, so you just got to kick it, man. Just talk about you. Tell me how old you are, how many kids you got, when you got shot.
First off, my name is Al Wahid Moses,
Mm-hmm.
39. Just turned 39, a week ago on the name. 4 boys, 19, 14, 10, and 1. Born and raised in Oakland, New Jersey.
Take me to the year that you got shot. How old were you?
I was 25, 2007.
2007. So we go back to 2007, and we're going to set the scene because you had just came home from an incarceration period, right?
Yes.
And how long were you there?
I was locked up 2 years, let's say from 2005 to 2007.
Okay, so when you came home, you had been home for approximately how long before you got shot?
Let's say 13, 14 days.
Okay, now we're going back to that night on Huntington Street, right? And so talk to me about the 20 minutes leading up to the time that you got shot. The 20 minutes before leading up to the time you got shot. What was going on? You was outside and
known place I grew up my whole life, Huntington Street. It's a neighborhood called New Community. Block, I hustled on. My family lived on, things like that. This day, it was, let's say, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, daylight. Out there with a couple of friends, chatting, things like that. My friend pulled up, asked me, can I shoot with him to go get some food to eat? And I'm like, okay, yeah, let me make sure my little cousin's died before anything. I jumped in a car. Not even 10 minutes. We sit in the car just talking, beating down. Oh, you just came home. Your weight ain't up and things like that. Just goofing around.
Just kicking it, right.
Just kicking it. And within those 10 minutes, gunfire erupted.
Mm-hmm.
I never seen it coming. It comes from the driver's side of his side. I'm in the driver's seat. You know, machine gun. They let off 30 shots. My friend died on the scene. I ended up with 10 shots to my body myself.
How many?
10.
10 shots to your body. Okay, and what? So while you were being shot, were you conscious of anything? I mean, when you got shot and after it was over, what came next? You shared with me that you were conscious of something.
I was conscious of the shooting, period. Because I'm sitting in the car, I don't know where it's coming from. And I'm like covering my face, my neck, so you know, I feel as though if I could try to block this, hopefully I survive. You know, but I'm spinning in the car, I'm getting hit on both sides of my body because I'm just spinning. Then after, you know, the gunfires erupt, I'm still up. My sister ran out from across the street from the house. I don't know if I'm going in and out, but she's smacking me, telling me to get up, and I'm up the whole time. I feel as though the ambulance came in the nick of time.
So you were conscious of your bleeding?
Yes, yes.
How did that, I mean, if you're conscious, you don't got shot, and you got 10 bullet holes in you, and blood is coming out of your body, what kind of sounds are going through your head? Can you remember that?
It's just ringing, and you just feel like, you know, if you got a gallon of water in your hand, you pour in a cup, and you just feel how the water just coming out the gallon. You just feel it's coming out your soul like this, and that was a different feeling.
Mm-hmm. So how did you feel? Clammy, cold, hot?
Cold, like your whole body just filled with, like, you know, silky type of thick stuff going on in your body.
Mm-hmm. And so they got you to the hospital. And what was the next conscious thing you did?
First, when they got me out the car, put me on the gurney stretcher thing, I just put my hands up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Why?
My hands is up. I'm conscious.
Mm-hmm.
The whole ride to the hospital. The whole ride.
Mm-hmm.
Being shot 10 times. I felt as though I was still conscious enough to not let go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, next thing you know, I get to the hospital, I don't know, they shoot me up with something. I go out. I don't know if that was my last minute to life or anything.
And then you woke up how many days later?
I think it was like 2 days later, and my eyes taped shut, so I wouldn't wake up and go into shock and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They taped your eyes shut?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you were able to see behind the darkness, though, right? Because your mind was still working.
Yes.
You want to share some of that stuff? Yeah, we got Tina and Donna just came on. Yeah. Rendell, would you come on and introduce yourself? You want to have something? Got something you'd like to share with the group here? Donna is trying to connect. But yeah, so hi.
Hi.
Everybody.
Hi.
So hello, everybody. So everybody mute themselves except me. All right. And Al, we're going to get you back on, okay? And so once Al has finished sharing with us his experience about getting shot and recovering from 10, what caliber pistol was that you got shot with?
It was a Mac 10, Mac 11, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And so this gun violence. If anybody, we're going to stop right there and kind of introduce everybody because I want to hear some of these stories about people that's gotten shot and survived. I know that's kind of morbid, but we decided to use this platform today to help somebody. And I think that trauma can be a very, very dangerous thing. And when you push trauma away and try to rush it through and not not confront it and not open it up and not question it, it'll stick with you. You create these pockets of remembrance. And so when things trigger you, your system, your autonomic system starts to go to work. And so my son was brave enough, and I want you to know, son, that I think you're very brave to revisit that whole night because I believe you're an exclusive club, and there are a lot of members that we don't hear from. There's a lot of families. So so Al, what happened after? Because we came and got you and brought you to West Virginia, right? And
Yeah.
what was the result of the gunshot? Tell us, count up the holes. Tell us where you are. Where did you get shot?
My stomach.
This might be funny, y'all. So y'all can go ahead and laugh because he okay. Tell him where you got shot.
My stomach, my back, both of my hips, both of my buttock cheeks. Just mainly from the stomach down.
Wow. 10 times?
10.
God has a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a great friend of mine died, and in the same token, which mentally messed me up from that incident. We were sitting in the car. This incident happened, which he died on the scene. I'm in the hospital 30 days. Haven't, wished him his goodbyes or funerals or no wait. So my last thing of thinking of him is that day, what happened to us.
And and then he had a brother, right?
Yeah.
You three guys grew up together, right?
Since like 3 years old. Great friends.
And what happened to the brother?
He died, let's say this happened in 2007. He died 2009.
How did he die?
Someone caught him going to his house, shot him behind the back of his head.
Gun violence. And so, Tina, you want to weigh in? You have something you want
to? Just hi. This is your son, James.
This is my son, Al Wahid.
Yes.
What's your name?
Al Wahid.
Little James. What is it again?
Al Wahid.
Al Wahid.
Al
nice
Wahid.
to meet you. 10 times. In where at? In like Baltimore, Philly, Martinsburg?
Newark, New Jersey.
Newark, New Jersey?
Yeah. Newark. I'm gonna type his name. So listen, I don't want to get all jumbled up. We're gonna allow Al a couple more minutes if you got some questions you want to ask him because I think that slow and easy is the way. And my son is very brave to be able to do this, and he's gonna stay on and maybe come back in. If anybody else got a story of a gunshot wound in the family, and they want to open up and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead, Tina.
Does anyone else have any?
No, you go, Tina.
Okay.
I have one.
Okay, Miss Rendell, you're a guest. You go. Tell us who you are, where you are, and give us your story. Tell us.
So, hi.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Rendell.
Mm-hmm.
I served in the United States Army. I'm a survivor of being kidnapped 3 times in my life.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, 3 times. One
Bless your heart.
Like a serial killer. And so I made a decision to go to United States Army just to get out of the city of Newark. Because everywhere I went, I also was stalked. Majority of my life, I was stalked, even recently. So I went to the military so I could learn how to defend, protect, and kill. But my story about gun violence, my son was shot maybe about 7 years ago by a family member. They got in an argument about a vehicle. And the police was aware of who shot my son, but my nephew did no time for that. He was in there less than 30 days and out. But the point that I want to make, when my son came home, I realized when we'd be driving somewhere, like maybe loud noises while we riding, I could see him flinching.
Have a flashback, kind of like a flashback.
Right. So I pointed out to him that, because I also have PTSD. And I pointed out to him that, Roger, you need to go to see maybe for mental illness. I'm quite sure you have PTSD because, your body language tells me that.
Right.
So after he was shot, of course, they prescribed some pain medication. And from there, it went downhill spiral because he got hooked on the pain medication. Up to that point, my son was never in the streets. He wasn't a street person. He always worked and took care of his children. He wrestled in St. Benedict's fourth in the nation. And getting in the lifestyle of drugs, pills is drugs, prescription, and begin to abuse it quite naturally. And that threw him into a lifestyle. He had the bright idea that he could sell pills, sell drugs. And in that lifestyle, he got a phone call maybe 3 years ago. He got a phone call for him to drop off something on Elizabeth Avenue in Newark. He went down there to drop it off. And before he even got out the vehicle, 4 guys came out with machine guns and shot the vehicle up. So now he was shot below the waist several times once again. The end of that story is never addressing the gunshot wound, never addressing the fears, never addressing the mental illness, the PTSD and everything that comes along with that. Right. Walking around like a dynamite.
Ready to explode.
Very, very angry. And 2 years ago, he got into an altercation with someone in that lifestyle. They arguing about whatever, money or pills. And he got in a fight with the guy. And unfortunately, he picked the guy up and slammed him and the guy died.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, right.
So how are you processing that as a mother?
As a mother, it was very heartbreaking when I got the initial phone call that my son has been shot. I'm grateful. The first thought was stop, pause, and pray.
Right.
Before I just throw on my Supergirl coat and Wonder Woman jacket and run outside, But as a mother, that was very heartbreaking, especially when it was a family member. I felt that the family member could at least thought about, oh, well, that's auntie's son. Whatever was going on, that's my auntie's son.
Okay.
So from that one gunshot, the first initial time of being shot, his whole life went down. So now he's serving.
And this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for all of us, families, everybody, to get together and mention these things about family members and outside and gun violence and what we can do about it. Right. So I want to hear now. We just heard Rendell talk about a family member, and because Al Wahid is not through. Right, Al? You willing to share some more with us? And you can pick, because our story as a family that has been impacted by gun violence is more than just 1 hour. We can't cover it in 1 hour. I refuse to try and rush through somebody's pain, because that's not the proper way to process it. Slow and steady.
Yeah.
That's the way to process that. Okay, so let's pick it up, Al, with
And I was going to say, like, due to Miss Rendell said, as far as a family member, and it goes deep when you say like a family member, because a family member, a cousin of mine, gave his friend a gun to do this to me and my friend, which is sad.
Yes.
You muted yourself, Al.
I'm sorry, you can hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Which I feel as though is sad, if you could go that deep. You out in the world, you're in the streets, but you let your brain go that deep to do this to your own family. I don't come from that, so I never saw revenge off that.
Right.
Yeah. So
How long ago was this?
2007.
2007.
To even have a conversation with this cousin, because I'm hearing your name is mixed up, in the situation.
Yeah.
Tell me in my eyes, as I'm talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I find out who did it, I do this to them. But from that conversation, your name kept on getting brought up in the situation.
I'd like to hear, we have, Al, I want to interrupt just a short minute to see if I can bring Donna on. Donna Joy, can you hear me? I see you there, and we like to
I hear you.
introduce
I
yourself.
hear you.
It's my
I
friend
have a
Donna.
really bad connection.
Oh,
I have a really bad connection. So the most I can do, and even with just audio, it's bad. So I can.
yeah,
I
we
mean,
got to
did
work
you
on
want
that.
me to share?
Yes, I
You
do,
want me-
Donna. We want to hear from you. How's the teaching going, Donna? Donna's on the school board in West Virginia, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, she's right there with you,
Awesome.
Tina.
Yep, I'm right here in Berkeley County.
Mhm.
Gun violence. If you want me to share that, I can.
Yes, ma'am, I do. Please.
Also, I can answer the other question.
Mhm.
Teaching is it's a loaded question too. So
Mm.
let me start with the guns, and then I'll move into the teach. Okay.
Okay. I guess
Oh.
you there?
Did we lose her? Did we lose her?
Yeah, I think we might have lost her. So that's the infrastructure. That's another thing we got to work on. You there, Donna?
Yes. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Now we can.
Okay. So as a child, once a bullet went right by my head while I was sleeping.
Mhm.
And that, that was a little bit scary. But when I was 16, was shot and killed.
Who was that? Who?
The internet.
Who-
Can you hear me?
No,
Who was
we
shot
lost
and
that.
killed?
My boyfriend when I was
Oh.
16. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, that was really growing up in West Baltimore. Every single day was a traumatic experience. So it didn't seem as bad at the time. I mean, it was upsetting,
Mhm.
but really every day was so traumatic. There's so much stress. And so that moves me into he asked me about teaching. I've been teaching for 30 years. I started teaching in West Baltimore. And now I live in West Virginia. I teach here. Well, actually, I'm in Virginia teaching because I got elected to the school board in West Virginia. And where I was working, you can't be on a school board and teach in the same county. So I had to resign. And then I found this place called Grafton. And it's a place for children who have emotional problems. And back in October, so I've only been there since August. And in October, one of these clients, young boy who I had poured my heart into to help, he was in some manic phase, and he grabbed me to throw me down the stairs and pulled my whole side out. And that I just said, okay, yeah, that was, he said that he was trying to get me to go with him to talk to the counselor. And I believed that he ill intentions. That was October 9th. But then October 29th, he got mad because nobody would go get him a wig. He went off and I left. He came from behind me and grabbed me, and he tried to kill me and strangled me.
God.
Yeah, it was very dramatic.
Yeah,
So,
sounds like it.
yeah, it was. So they're kind of connected. It's funny that you ask about how my teaching is, because the things that I dealt with, growing up in West Baltimore.
Yeah, everybody, the reason that I kind of chose this is twofold. First of all, I want to help my son and myself and my family process a whole lot of things, and I appreciate you guys' help. But the other thing is that some of the things that go unprocessed hinder us.
Right.
It hinders recovery. It blocks recovery in a lot of cases, man. And it's contagious. Ugliness, it spreads. So we have an opportunity to talk about some things. Donna and I, we met on a campaign trail in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. that was a pretty busy summer, right, Donna? And Donna was running for school board then.
What part? West Virginia?
Right down where we lived near Martinsburg, Harpers Ferry.
Jefferson County.
Jefferson.
I know Martinsburg.
And I
Yeah,
didn't,
you know what a casino is,
I didn't
right?
win that time,
Yeah, I know what's up.
No. Mhm. So
but I ran again. Years later.
She ran again. Yeah, and it's just a stone's throw, Donna. We are neighbors still.
Wait a
So
minute.
there's a lot of opportunity for recovery and to be of service. And we're separated by some hours, but we're still neighbors. There's a connection. And look at this. And I don't believe in happenstance. I seem to be right in the middle. This is a pretty good place to be. What's your thoughts on that, Al Wahid? Because we want to get you right there where you're in the center, man. Because I believe that God has a plan and the devil can't stop it. Sometimes it's not. It's a bumpy ride, but He says that He knows the plans and the thoughts that He has for us. The thoughts of good and not evil with an expected outcome. He knows that, and He says that.
All right, hold on.
And so I believe that when things happen and people become mystified by the outcome, if we don't exaggerate and illuminate what happened, they'll take it too lightly. So that's why this is not a morbid conversation. Like, people don't like to talk about life insurance. Most people say, hey, well, what I want to talk about life insurance for? I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die tomorrow. Especially young kids. They believe, well, what do I need some life insurance for? I'll get that when I get 70.
Hey guys, I got to step out for just 2 minutes to take my dog out. I'll be right back. All right.
See, that's the magic. That's the beauty. Anybody, y'all can jump right in there because this is a very well organized group here. I want to tell you, people are not cross talking.
I would like to ask Al Wahid a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Al Wahid, thank God for you. Did you seek out counseling?
Like after I got shot, I did it for a couple months.
Okay.
I
Did it
tried
help?
it. I don't think so at that moment.
Right.
At that moment, I can't really say it helped. I was like in a mental trauma, messed up stage.
Right.
And that lasted over 15 months.
Yes, a lot of times we don't get clear until we come out of the storm and get to the other side of it. The therapeutic value of just talking about whatever it is going on, talking about our feelings, a lot of times help us get to the exact nature of whatever's going on the inside of ourselves.
Even when you were saying with your son taking the medication, I really kicked myself off those because I felt as though it was treating my body wrong and my body wasn't reacting right. So I kicked those. You don't have to give me those. I feel as though I'm 100, but I wasn't.
Right.
But I just made sure I couldn't take those. Still to this day, I won't never take them.
Right. Good for you. Good choice.
So let's talk about some of the I don't know, the systematic interpretations of people's lives. And I want to start with Donna. Donna Joyce. I love talking to her. I want to get her perspective. Donna, I was telling my son that the poverty, the prison pipeline was wide open for him. Even before he was born. And people don't want to buy into that idea, but we see that the behavior of this country manifests itself. And it's just such a plan that has the kind of outcome where young black kids, young black women, men get beat to death or shot. So that parking lot that night, those gunshots.
I don't hear you anymore.
Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now, Donna?
Well, I heard parts and then it went blank.
Oh, okay. So Rendell, give me your interpretation of how you feel about your son's plight in life and what happened to him along the way? Do you feel like it was a setup? My question.
Well, one of the things also I would like to point out, as the mother, when the investigators, when he was shot the second time, the investigators was treating him as he was the criminal. They even said to him, "Well, you're not going to tell us who shot you. Next time, I hope they kill you."
Oh my Lord.
That was like devastating for me, and him as well. The whole, it definitely was a setup for prison. Drugs, period, is jails, institutions, and death. Unless you find recovery, you trapped in a vicious cycle. Trying to find your way out of there, and without a support and a network, it's hard to maneuver through that alone.
And the intentions are that it should be impossible for you to maneuver through that. That's why they have the recidivism process going on within the judicial system. That was a good point you brought up, Rendell. And with that being said, we're talking about after prison, then what? What were the resources that are available for your son when he comes home? My son. So when you came home from jail, and I guess you was after that money, right? Because you had to take care of yourself. Now, did you have a drug problem? Serious drug problem like heroin or?
Never.
Are you an alcoholic?
I won't even drink that unless, if I had a function or something like that. But, weed, I prefer that.
Right. All right. Are you okay? But you got shot and you was like the guy said in that picture Glory, when Denzel Washington went off and when he came back, the man beat his back. And they asked Morgan Freeman, what do he think? Why did he go out there? And Morgan said, the boy was just out trying to get himself some shoes. And you was out trying to get yourself some shoes. And people, the product, did you go to Paris or wherever and get the drugs and things that you guys were selling out there? No, somebody brought it here. That's the answer. So people don't want to talk about that because that's uncomfortable. They don't have nobody to blame, right? And so now they're figuring out that drug addiction and people being in prison is not some sort of moral character failure. They're starting to figure out that diseases and things of that nature were put in certain communities for a reason. And the reason was just so that our kids can grow up and go out and get shot.
Like a set up for a failure or set up for a letdown.
And so after jail, Al, when you came home, what were the resources for you? You weren't on probation or parole, right? No.
No parole, probation, anything like that.
But you have experienced that system, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Who else has experience with the system of parole and probation? You, Rendell, I'm sure. You too, Tina.
I do, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why you gonna say me?
You got a son. And don't they? You say you got a son. Didn't they contact you?
He put you right out on Front Street.
Don't they?
So this is what I'm gonna say. My father was murdered in 1974 by gunshot. His mistress killed him. Right?
Who?
My father.
Right.
When I was 8 years old on Christmas, his mistress shot and killed him. Right?
Oh my goodness.
It wasn't until maybe 2007 before I got in touch with it that I had anger inside of me as well. Everything else that I went through. The mail was pulled from the home, and it was my mother and her 3 girls living in Newark. I went off to the military, and I ended up getting medical discharge. And when I came home from the military, it was still like, what do I do now? I ended up calling myself being a drug dealer, toting guns and selling drugs. That was what was in the community, and I thought it would be a way out. I ended up going to prison. I did go to prison.
How you doing now?
How am I doing now?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I have a little over 15 years in recovery.
All right.
Yeah, I retired from the operating room in the VA Medical Center.
Mhm.
You
All
know,
right.
Way to go.
at home. You know, I turned my whole life around. You know, I
No,
wake up to
sir.
serve. You know, I dedicate my life to serving others and to help whoever is open to help. One of the things I also learned that when my son didn't want no help from me, if there's no opening there, there's no opening there. You cannot graft a new ideal on a closed mind.
That's
The
right.
person have to be open. You know, and when I came out of prison, I had no idea, no clue about what a disease of addiction is. I didn't think like, nope, I'm not an addict. You know,
Mhm.
I'm not a drug addict. You know, I experimented with it, but I'm not a drug addict. And I was doing well. I was in school. You know, I went to Essex County College, and
Mhm.
I kept buying drugs for drug addicts. You know, when I come in through the community, you know, the drugs, I kept giving away money. And one day I gave somebody money and they came back and brought me some more dope.
Mhm.
You know,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
without even thinking twice, not knowing that I had opened up a new can of worms, you know, and I took that bag of heroin and my life went to hell real fast. You know, the disease of addiction is really real.
Quick.
Great to get in touch with that, and a lot of things that stemmed from my father being murdered. You know, in my life, not having my dad there. You know,
Wow.
and with all the
Yeah.
trauma that I experienced of being kidnapped and all
Mm.
the trauma that I have gone through, and no male role model in the home, but
Mhm.
not even outside of the home. You know,
Mhm.
I was 14 years old and I ran away from home. I lived with a man that was 25 years.
Yes. The
You
door's
know,
not
so
locked.
I actually end up the very thing I was running from. I end up living with the predator. You know,
Tina, can you mute
so
yourself?
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
all
so
right.
sorry, you
Hey,
guys. I'm so sorry.
Mendel.
yes. Yeah, so there's resources out there, but you know,
So what kind of resources are you looking for, Al Wahid, right now? Because I know I don't want to put you on Front Street, but I believe that transparency is, I mean, people never know what you're working on if you don't tell them. And one of the things that really kept me addicted for so long was the anonymity thing. I mean, I went to the rooms and everything, but I kept getting in trouble because I guess I didn't give a F about that. So I stopped going, is what I did. But I had to find some other way to have a sponsor, and I found Jesus. Because he came and snatched me up real good and took care of me for a little over 9,000 days. Now I'm rocking with this dude. But I just wanted you to have opportunity to start processing that, man, and use what you got, right? You got shot already.
You have to.
Let's make sure other people don't get shot, man. I got some beautiful grandsons by this brother right here, you know, and I think that God is really giving me a do-over. I'm not an absentee dad anymore. I'm a real father. I'm a real black man, a strong one that's coming through there. And you know, and I believe that it's my responsibility to bring it up, you know, so that you know I can help guide you, and you can watch my back, son. So
Right.
your story is important. Your story is very important, man, because it already happened, and you made it. You came through that. Everybody can't say I've been shot 10 times.
yeah.
I can't even imagine one. What about you, Tina?
Yep. I can't even imagine. And I mean, and you're walking, you're talking, you know, 10 times. 10
It ain't,
times.
glad thing, it ain't hitting the main artery, but I'm still walking around with something in me
Oh
with
yeah.
fractured things and things like that. So
Are you able to work or?
Oh, he worked like
yeah.
you get a job. You get
I thought maybe you were a slacker like your
No,
daddy
that's what
was.
I'm saying. God is good.
He's good. But I guess
God is
now,
good.
as I'm getting older, wear and tear.
Bullet fragments are moving around.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm finding out I have arthritis and things like that. So,
Hmm. Yep.
but I just never laid down after the 10 shots. I just felt as though I was 100%. I could move through life and do anything,
There
you
you
know,
go.
and that's how
Yep.
it took on.
Yeah, and the bullet just. So you went
Hmm.
and had X-rays and stuff, right? And they saw the stuff floating around in there.
Yeah, still something in there. Still have one in my back, fractured hip with one in my hip. They found a blood clot. They saying I have arthritis, so I'm
Oh
trying
my
to see
heavens.
how things work with that.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
how
but
old how can I ask how old you are?
I just turned 39 February 9th.
Oh, well, happy late birthday.
Thank you.
39. Oh my
Thank you.
heavens.
And this happened
Well,
when I was 25.
yeah. So we're gonna do. And so, how many other young people out there? Everybody, my friends, that we can talk to and get them to come and talk to us about how we can
hmm.
help this situation.
Yep.
And it's getting worse. I don't know. Most of us who are in our cushy little spaces and everything and that we occupy, we go to our
Hmm.
jobs and we do everything for ourselves and we stay ourselves in a bubble
Yep.
and we
Yep.
don't do any outreach, not even the
Yep.
virtual outreach. You got people that won't even,
Hmm.
say that things are not right.
Yep.
Only thing they want to do is go somewhere and work and come home, and that's it. That's life. Until something tragic happens,
Hmm.
and they're not prepared to be able to
Yep.
live, especially out of doors. You think about things. So
Yeah.
those are the kinds of conversations that recovery is all about. It's the full scope. I don't think
It,
recovery is just about stopping using drugs and
and
alcohol.
I think with recovery, it's also, well, there's always that huge trust factor, you
Mm,
know, and once you've went through hell and you start seeing the light and you start going towards it, you want to open up and you want to tell people your story and you want to, talk to your neighbors and things like that. But right now during the COVID, you can't even bump elbows with everybody,
So,
and it's
what's your
just
story,
crazy.
Tina? What's your story? Prison. Let's start with some jail talk.
With my prison.
What's your
um
story? Yes.
Well, let's see. I have been home for 11 years now. I went to prison in Goochland, Virginia, which James is familiar with that whole area. He told me his story being in,
Richmond.
yeah, in Richmond. I went in for prescription fraud. Um, I wanted to be a doctor. I just didn't want to go to school to do it. and, and just like you were saying, Miss Renda, it's prescriptions. It's the government's way of legalizing an opiate. And then you had these doctors overprescribe, and then when they pulled themselves back and they started getting in trouble, then there's nothing else out there but heroin. And it's a continuous cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I was on probation for 4 years. It took me Once I got home, it took me a year living in Virginia before they would let me move back home to West Virginia. And I live in the Eastern Panhandle, where it's basically Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia, and Virginia. All states are within 20 minutes of each other.
Mm.
So it was hard. It was hard being in another state, no family, no nothing, but you know what? It toughens you. It
Mm-hmm.
toughens you. Prison alone toughens you.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I was there when a lady, her name was Sharon Lewis, she had hired her boyfriend and his son to murder her husband and her stepson, and she was being executed. So just, all of that, and then coming home and still dealing with addiction problems because there's no genuine help. When you come home, if you don't have a family or if you don't have people that are in your corner giving you housing, helping you get back and forth from finding a job or getting a job and the whole 9 yards, it's horrible. I
Mm-hmm.
dealt with addiction even after I came home, even
Yeah.
after I came home. And, there's I think a thin line. We were talking about that earlier, a friend of mine, where I need pain medication. But if I take it, I know that eventually there's always that I could abuse it. I could abuse it. And then I could go back to where I originally started. you know.
Mhm.
Um, Suboxone has been a lifesaver for me.
Mhm.
It really has. It really, really has. And I'm tapering myself down to where, I'm not going to need it anymore. And just like you, Miss, what's your first name, Miss Rendell? I see S.
It's her first name, Riddell.
It's your first. Oh, I like that. I like that. Uh, I would like to, advocate for people,
Mhm.
because a lot of people to look at them, some people, James has even said some people,
Mhm.
you can tell maybe they went to jail or they went to prison or they've had, hard times and things like that. I would like to advocate for people. I would like to honestly help people because there's not much help out there. There really isn't. There
Mhm.
is, but it's not the help that they really, really need,
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
but just being,
Mhm.
I had a shooting experience. I was 11 and I witnessed my aunt being she was killed. My uncle was an avid hunter, but he was an alcoholic, and he was really strict on his daughter. I happened to be over there that night to spend the night, and my niece was in the pantry. She came out. They were fighting and fussing. And when she went past, my uncle was cleaning out the gun, and he didn't realize that there was still a bullet. It was a rifle in the chamber, or however that's worded. And when she went past, she accidentally hit it. And when she hit it, the gun went off and it shot my aunt right in the corner of her eye. And I was right beside her. It could have been me. Um, so just being beside her at 11 years old and witnessing that, it, it trauma, guns being all it's traumatizing. Life can be very
Mhm.
traumatizing,
Mhm.
so I was early on diagnosed with PTSD, and then just
Mhm.
some of those things can cause you to
Mhm.
go into addiction because you want to numb it, you don't want to have to
Mhm.
deal with it. But so that's a little bit of my story. I now go to the Renovo Center. That's where I met James.
Mhm.
And that center has been a lifesaver. It really
What
has.
What is the Renovo Center? Can you explain to our listeners what did they
The
do
Renovo
there?
Center is I want to say it correctly. It's a rehabilitation center, and it's a complete package. It's not just going in and seeing a doctor and being prescribed either Suboxone or Subutex. It's a complete package where you see a therapist. You have group sessions, which is IOP, and where you talk, about everyone else's problems and things that have caused them to their life lead to addiction. You learn coping skills. You learn um, mannerism as far
Mhm.
as being around people and how to handle situations so that you don't use again.
Mhm.
Um, you also are assigned a case manager or a resilience person, and they kind of help you with uh, resources. They can do only so much, but you always have to go out there and you got to bat for yourself. You got to go out there and find some things that maybe they don't have, but that's what they do. And
Mhm.
I think they've been around, what, James, 3 years? Has it been
Yeah,
longer than 3 years?
about 3 years.
About
3 years
3 years.
now.
I
Mhm.
have been in sobriety for 1 year and 14 days.
Mhm. Very
So
good. Mhm.
I thank God for them. I do. I
Mhm.
really do. Um, Drugs will lead you down a road of darkness
Mhm.
and sadness and
Mhm.
misery.
I'm glad you segued into that because my question on Recovery Radio is often after rehab, then what? After prison, then what? After the pandemic, then what? And so we here on Recovery Radio are putting together a team of people that can help produce these kinds of talk shows so that we can help people and reach more
Mhm.
people. And we're putting ourselves in a position to be able to hire 2 people to edit for us each week. And so it'll be $20 an hour, and it's almost 40 hours a week as soon as they sign off on it. But and I guess my point is that we can help one another with all the tapping into the resources and things that we need.
Mhm.
And I already have the platform. John Casey's sitting back there listening, but he's willing to do this every week, 2 and 3 times a week. I'm working with the American Civil Liberties Union, and they've allowed us to put together to be able to ask them for monies so that we can buy better equipment and and we can work in conjunction with one another because, as you
Mhm.
see, we're doing it right now. And they're gonna pay for it, but we have to make sure that they're getting what they paid for. And so what it is these are I'm not an NA or AA person. And so my job in this project is to bring people together. That's it. I told them, I said, look, oh, and by the way, Tina is on the board of directors for the West Virginia Families
Families for convicted.
Convicted People. That's a
Mhm.
hard one to say for me. It's West Virginia Families of Convicted People, and it's sponsored by the American Civil Liberties Union. And so my job as communications, I think that's the title that they put down, is to put together a team of people that can produce a radio podcast that is shaped around prison reform and recovery from substance use disorder. And so I can run my mouth. I have no technical skills to speak of, and John and I have been for a few years doing this as a couple, he and I. But he can't do, like, after we get off the show, everybody, he knows what he needs to do, and it's probably like another 6 hours for him to put this together and then put it out. It's already on Facebook Live, so we can't edit that part. But for YouTube and the other platforms, he does the editing. And the American Civil Liberties Union is willing to pay for us to develop this. Now, you don't have to decide right now, but I'm going to ask each person to just think about it. We all talked about service. We know what needs to happen. John, you want to add anything to that conversation about building this platform out?
Well, mainly we need a way to get people to tell their stories, and raise some money to help with the production. It's about a 3-hour job to edit a video cast. For every hour you're going to be on the the main reason it takes so much time is it's just a gigantic file, okay, and you can't move it up and down on the internet or up to Facebook or up to YouTube or anything like that without it taking an hour and a half to to load it up. And then you have to have a dedicated piece of software to do the video editing. I mean, it's not that hard to use, but it would be best if you hired someone to, every time you had a show, you just put it on their deck. They pretty it up, however whatever format they want to do, and it can look more professional, right?
Yeah.
And then also you need a person who knows social media, because the main way you're going to produce it mostly right now these days is through social media. And if you're well organized, you can turn a group of 10 people into about 5,000 listeners, okay, just using the share. But even if you don't do that, I mean, all these platforms for not a whole lot of money will let you build up to about a 5,000 user base, okay. After that, they'll start metering you, but for more money. But that's okay. It's a threshold for organizations to be able to get a reasonable sized audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that reasonable sized audience, say you have an audience of 5,000 people, well, and you come up one morning and you say, we'd really appreciate it if you all would call the following number and ask the following question, okay? Well, if a political person gets 5,000 calls or even 1,000, they cannot not pay attention. I mean, so it's just. So I think it's a great way to.
It's just a matter of time.
We'll need to raise money for both a social media person and a professional production.
And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because I found out some things. I got a lot of questions for each one of you guys. I mean, that's 3 shows in my head right there. I'm talking individual. And I think this top left corner, that's going to be my hot box. So when I put you up in the hot box, that's when you gonna talk. That's when I'm trying to open you up and get some stories out of you, because I want to know what happened with my son. I really want to know, and I need so the way we develop the conversation is when a person is willing to open up. Then sometimes you have to ask them the right things. You know, like what color was the tuna fish can? You know, I know he cut you with one, but did you see the color of it? You know, things like so we have to dig deep in that. So I see Rendell looking at me like, what the hell is he talking about? but
Yeah,
that,
but you
that's
have
what
to-
makes that's what's so beautiful about these kinds of platforms. It is. And so I believe that we can develop this into something that's, you know, that can be dare I say profitable. It certainly can be uplifting because so Al, how do you feel about
Going a little far.
getting that little bit out?
I feel great.
Yeah.
I'll be willing to, you know, put things on the table these days because, like, I feel more fresh with life.
Mhm.
There's a purpose.
So what about your you know, what's your next step with this? Because I know you got to do some figuring out, and I believe that you're grounded and you're safe, and you're thinking well, because a bullet, that's a hot piece of lead, and we need to figure out how that feels so we can tell them kids they don't want to do this, man. You don't want to get this bullet
Yeah.
wound in you like this. This is how it feels. This is what happens, and you can animate the after effects, because we don't know when you're gonna start limping. You know, even if that's a possibility. But you know, we talking morbidity on this show tonight, so we might as well get it out there and be 100. That's the stuff that you might notice later on in life. There's lead floating around in your body.
And
Yeah,
then-
even like jumping out of your sleep. That's like a mandatory thing. Like it happens every night.
And mental wounds
It
are
is.
sometimes worse than physical.
I'm talking you'll jump out of your sleep, like
Yeah.
like your soul trying to jump out of your body, like that type of shocking. It's like, yeah, you go through some things.
Yeah,
That's
Bless
for
your
sure.
heart.
Get it out. Get it out. I love it, man. So my family's, you know, getting stuff out there. And tell us about your cousin, man. Wahid.
But the cousin that was behind the situation,
Yeah.
this story could go on for days.
Yeah.
It's not normal.
Where's he now?
He's deceased himself.
And what happened to him? What happened to him?
Someone caught him coming out the halfway house of a jail, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning.
How many bullets he take?
6, 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. It goes deep.
So those are stories, and there's so much to that could be useful. I'll put it like that, because I want to be able to tell my grandkids and my great grandkids the stories about my life, and I don't want them wondering if it's true or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd like to know. I have a picture in my head of my great grandmother. She was an Indian woman with a long silver hair. That's all I remember. I don't remember her face or anything. All I remember is her hair, and I used to rub her hair, and that's it. But if I had this right here, so this is the legacy I want to leave for my children and for my grandchildren and for my great grandchildren. You know, so Wahid, so we can tell the little guy, I wish he was over here now so I could put him in my lap, our youngest. And we got one, as we speak, Tina, that's being born in Martinsburg in a couple of days. Well, she might have had the baby. They were supposed to do a C-section, but the baby turned around this morning.
Is this your daughter or your son?
My granddaughter
Your
in Martinsburg.
So your granddaughter's given birth.
And we need to make sure, man, because God didn't just let me live to be 70 years old so I can sit around and get rusty and not talk about it. So I got to the point where where I'm able to go somewhere with some other 70-year-old people who are usually white people
What you
and
saying?
talk shit and
What
talk
you
shit to them. Because
What you saying?
it is, it's a fact.
You'll never
Them
get
guys-
rusty. You
I
will
know.
never get rusty.
So I met Tina, right, when I was living in Martinsburg, in West Virginia, and John and all of them. So they know I'm not talking about something new that they're not surprised by that talk. And they rather me talk. I can tell you right now about stuff that's true.
Well, because you keep
So-
it real.
Mhm.
know?
And Donna, I know she's still listening. Donna ain't no pushover either. Me and Donna went at it one time, but we resolved our issues, and I love her like a sister. I'm telling you, because I know that these are the people that are going to help keep my children safe. Oh, and Donna writes books, and Rendell is a trooper. I'm sure. And I don't know as much as I'm gonna know about her, because she's a veteran. First of all, I don't know many women veterans who are on the front lines about this and grew up in neighborhoods where they looking back and saying, damn, something, did I come out of that? I got to get back over there and straighten that out. Just like in West Virginia, I'm going, I haven't gotten that out of my system yet because there's a lot of unresolved issues down there with the political process in that part of the
Amen.
world. Hey,
Amen.
John, I talked to Senator Unger today. He called me back.
Oh, good.
John.
Yeah.
I talked to him today. He called me. He told me he wanted to meet with Greg.
Oh, good. Well, that's a good man to meet with if you want to,
Right. So, I've been to, as many of you have, so many meetings and stuff that I'm just meeting out. I like to do stuff. But right now, we got to keep still. We got to use what we got, and we got to use it to perfection. Otherwise, it's going to be business as usual. And we're going to remain poor, dysregulated,
Yep.
getting shot, becoming homeless, imprisoned. They found a girl in Virginia that's been was murdered and kidnapped and everything, and they never found her body. But the man that they say did it had been in prison since she went missing. He's a black man. I read the article there and I said, well, hold up. Something ain't right here.
Yeah.
In Livingston, Virginia. Yeah. So those are the kinds of stories that Recovery Radio will be able to reach out and touch people because we're doing prison reform, and that's prison across the country. My son and my niece, well, I've never met her before, but my wife's niece is in prison in Florida, and she's been in prison for 18 years.
Oh my heavens.
She's in a private prison in Florida.
Wow.
Nobody was writing her. They just didn't know that she existed. Al has never met her. He didn't know she had a cousin, and yeah. But we're working to get her out as we speak. So that's what I'm doing. I like Rendell says she likes to serve, Rendell, and I've been a servant all my life, and you have as well, because that's why we keep doing what we do.
Absolutely.
We serve, and we can do something about it. So, with that being said, we're coming up, John, 7:30. We done.
Yeah,
So
you're at an hour. You're at an hour.
So done. Yeah.
I would love to come back. I would love to come back.
Yeah, because we just getting started on that, son.
Good.
You
Hey,
got any
James,
close- Yes, ma'am.
can I call you here in about an hour?
Yes, call me.
Okay, because I'm trying to get a hold of Greg too, and I can't catch him.
Nice to
I'm
meet
having
you
trouble.
guys.
Very busy.
Yeah, call me now. Go ahead,
Okay.
Al. You got departing words, Wahid?
Why he did
Nice
good.
to meet you, lovely ladies, and you guys. Hope to do this again. God bless.
All right.
God bless. Bye, guys.
Hey, Donna.
Rendell, you got
I'd love
something?
to have Donna Joy on.
Yeah.
I've been in love with her ever since I found out how much Stephen Skinner didn't like her.
Donna, did you hear that?
Yeah, we hate it.
I found out too,
Yeah.
John. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know Steven.
I
Stephen,
remember
yeah,
the minute
yeah,
she was on my program once, he called me up and started whining. What are you talking about? Anyway, and but I was disappointed with Stephen for other reasons.
Yeah.
I got really
Yeah,
interested.
he'll come around. He'll come around. But hey, Donna, I got your book. I let one of the kids read your book, and they didn't
Oh,
give it
yeah?
back yet. Yes. So I might need some more copies of that. They liked it.
Is this the one about the Sundance?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I gave that to my daughter. She loved that.
Yeah.
She read it to her children. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everybody, and thanks, John. Man, you're great. Thanks, Donna. Thanks,
All right.
Wendell. Good
All
night.
right, see you. Good night.